Minutes, we are simply just going to talk about Premier League football, and straight after us, don't forget live boxing on Saturday Fight Night Live here on BT Sport. If you want to join in the conversation on the show, hashtag PL Tonight, you can get in touch with all of us on Twitter, and let's welcome Glenn Hoddle, who's hopped over from the commentary box. Frustrated?
Yeah, it was frustrating. Yeah, for Spurs it was, yeah. But you've got to give Swansea credit. They defended stoutly and they were very well organised.
They were indeed. Meanwhile, you can't believe that we're in the same studio. Change the lights and look what happens.
That's what happens if you get good staff.
Exactly, and we've certainly got that. And decent pundits as well. Let's look at the headlines then from the day. And it was a really difficult day indeed for Roy Hodgson. No joy for Roy indeed. Meanwhile, very different as far as Manchester City are concerned, because they were fantastic today. It was very 60 football. And finally, Newcastle. They are flying along at the moment. They are over the tomb. Another win for them, so congratulations to them. Let's start, though, by talking about Crystal Palace, I'm afraid. And this is Alex Howell's day as a Palace fan.
So it is our third home game, second manager of the season. Hopefully Roy gets us playing and we get our first goal, our first win and first points on the board. Come on, boys. So it's half time, it's 1-0 Southampton. You can see they're trying, but we still haven't scored. So that's the end of that home game. We are struggling. 5 games, no points, no goals. It's not looking great. It wasn't even that much better today on the Roy. I know he's only had 3 days to go, but we've got a tough 3 games coming up, and then after that we could find ourselves cut adrift.
Tough, United, then City, and then Chelsea. Tough doesn't even begin to explain it. Here are the thoughts of Roy Hodgson after the game.
I'm not suggesting that work we'll do on the training field will suddenly produce 3 or 4 Messis and Ronaldos in the next two or 3 months. You know, we have got the squad of players that we have. They've got their strengths and weaknesses. We need to be aware of those strengths and weaknesses. We need in training to try and improve the strengths and cover up maybe sometimes the weaknesses. It's 5 defeats, it's 0 points, it's a really tough programme ahead if you look at the quality of the opponents. So it's painful today, and I fear it's going to be painful in some of the moments going forward.
Well, it could be those next 3 games, which we've already spoken about, are so difficult for them. This is from Nick Harris on Twitter. If you don't follow Nick, you really should, at Sporting Intel. Loads of really interesting stuff. But look at this. To put this in context for Palace, since 1888, there have been 2,465 teams starting top-flight English seasons. Palace are the first ever to lose their first 5 and to score none. And there's so much of it on social media. We had a message from Ben Giesta who said, we had a choice of De Boer, Marco Silva or Mauricio Pellegrino. We took 2 months to pick, and who do we have in September? Roy Hodgson, my club, he says. And the whole point about that and everything else that we're seeing here is the short-termism in football. How can you think short-term and expect to improve in the long term?
No, you can't. And what I would say, it's shouting out that they've panicked to me. You know, the De Boer situation was wrong, you know, on all accounts. I felt that, you know, 4 games is just absolutely ridiculous. There's obviously a fallout somewhere along the line, but they've panicked and they've just thought, right, what is out there, who's available? And Roy Hodgson is the one that they've stumbled across. Now, the run of games he's got is an absolute joke. It's going to take a while, you know, it is, and they've just got to be patient now and stick with it. They are where they are, and and they've just got to get behind Roy.
You make a decision to bring Ronald De Boer in to play football, total football. Sam Allardyce got the ball forward quick, got the players. It took him 8 games, by the way. It took Sam 8 games to get him on that wavelength. De Boer's had 4 games to get him playing football, which is nowhere near long enough. Roy Hodgson is that good a coach, he can play anyway. He'll look at the group now and have to make a decision. Are we getting it forward quick, or are we going to play total football? And I'm sure he'll get that. I mean, he's got a tough run of games to try it out in, but they've panicked.
You need time, you need time. Frank de Boer needed time. I can relate to it. When I first went to Chelsea, I went from Swindon to Chelsea, I tried to change into a back 3. I wanted to play a back 3, so it was completely different to what they were used to there. Christmas, we were second from bottom. Christmas. I wouldn't have had that time, would I, in this era?
And what happened?
And we went to the Cup final that year, got the FA Cup final, we ended up 10th in the league, and there was a foundation for them to go on the next year. But it was time. You needed some time on that training ground and to get your principles and your ideas across. Total panic at Palace. But you can understand them in a way, going for Roy, because Roy will do what he did at West Brom and probably at Fulham and make it very tight and bank them up and drop the striker in and be very difficult to beat, a little bit like we saw Swansea had to do today. I don't think Paul wants to play that every week and week in, but for a few weeks he's going to have to play that way. And that's survival down there at the bottom. You have to do that.
I feel sorry for Roy in some ways because he's going to be lumbered with all the criticism that comes their way, because the chances of them getting something from any of those next 3 games is going to be super tough. They could very easily be 8 games in, not a single point on the board. And of course, what will everyone be saying? Well, you sacked Frank de Boer after 4 games without a win. Are you going to now do the same with Roy Hodgson? But Roy's in a position where you've had a Sam Allardyce team. You've then tried in 2 months to turn that into a total football Frank de Boer team. And now you've decided that's not going to work. So you give the job to Roy Hodgson. It's an almost impossible situation, isn't it, to go in and be successful?
Is there a football manager after 4 games?
I know.
Well, how can you? How can you?
You deserve what you get.
Look what's happened to Harry today. Harry Redknapp.
He's gone,
There's
yeah.
no patience left in football.
14 new players came into Birmingham over the summer, and they've given him this amount of time to get them playing football.
Doesn't make sense.
Look, these 3 games that are coming up, they are nightmare types of games, but they can be the catalyst for something special. It can ignite something if you can galvanise the side, get them together. And as we've seen today, it's a lot easier to be destructive in football than it is to be creative. So if he can get those players and just say, look, do not lose. In one of those games, it might ignite something that leads on to, you know, them having a half-decent season due to this, well, given the dreadful start that they've had.
I'd like to get something from each of you. What's the key thing that Roy has to get right? What's the one thing he needs to do in those next 3 games? I'll give you a moment to think. I'll just read out a few of these social media messages. As always, it's your show. Keep them coming. Hashtag PL Tonight is the hashtag to use. HLTCO says, we used to pride ourselves on our team spirit, but I would imagine it's almost impossible to keep that when the manager changes so often. James says, Palace hired de Boer to move away from antiquated football, then replace him with a walking antique. Parish is burying his own club. Daniel, I've never felt so disheartened watching Palace. We must be the easiest team to play against, devoid of ideas, destined for the drop. Chris, this was supposed to be our easy start. We are now in dire trouble. Pete, I'm really worried for Roy. 3 more games like that and he'll be out of a job too. Joseph, the result seems to indicate what we all knew all along. Replacing talented managers with other managers doesn't buy better players. Brilliant point. And finally, Arthur, if Roy is the answer, what on earth was the question? It's difficult to feel sorry for Crystal Palace. Well, look, Roy is the answer. So what is the one thing that you want to, or that he needs to do over these next 3 games? Just to reiterate, City, United and Chelsea.
Apart from score.
They need to score at some point, don't they?
No, look, he's got to get the squad on board. You know, get on the training pitch, get some confidence into this side, get them together. So the only way you get out of these tough situations is being out there, being in it together, and digging yourself out of the hole.
Yeah, they've got to get organised, haven't they? The fixtures dictate to how they're going to have to play. Those fixtures coming up, they're not going to play open football.
No.
They're going to have to defend, like I said, 2 banks of 4, get all his ideas across, and his staff, and really set the tone out and see if they can get, by hook or by crook, a point. Get a point on the board. Yeah. Swansea got a point today by doing exactly that, and now that's something you can just build on. Dean?
Pattern of play when you got the ball, and a pattern of play when you haven't got the ball. So where's the ball going next? So we've got an advantage. So they all play in the same, they're all on the same page. And defensively, how are we going to defend? Are we going to sit deep? Are we going to press? But everybody's got to get on page 1. You can't have 1 on page 1, 5 of them on page 2.
I'm trying to think of one positive thing about the situation Crystal Palace are in, but I don't think there is there?
I can't think of one right
It's
now.
a mess.
No, it is a bit of a shambles.
What are the players thinking?
Oh, well, what are they thinking?
Problem, yeah.
Well, for example, Zaha, winger. He's playing 5-a-side football. Alan Pardew's the manager. Sam Allardyce comes in and tells him, put the ball in the space, and you 2 run after it. If you don't run after it, I'll take you off. He finds it hard to get Zaha to do that because he's putting balls into spaces, not playing to feet. De Boer comes in and then tells the fullbacks, don't be putting the ball up there. Start playing it into midfield. Do not give the ball away, kicking it up the channel.
Impossible.
Now Roy's come in, and Roy's going to have to decide, does he go the Sam Allardyce route or does he go the Ronald de Boer route? Because the players are just all over the place.
Is there a football in Briery?
Is there what?
A football in Briery? They're going to be so confused.
We should all check in, shouldn't we? I mean, it's a mad
players
situation. It's a mad situation. OK, I'm afraid it doesn't get too much more positive now because we're going to carry on talking a little bit about Spurs. Obviously, nothing like the same situation as Crystal Palace, but frustration today for Maurizio Pochettino, and he's now emerged from the Spurs dressing room and is with Des.
There were a couple of contentious penalty calls. A handball by Olsen. Also, Aurier near the end looked like his heels were clipped.
Yeah, it was so strange, the decision of Mike. I never liked to speak about the referee, but it's true. If you didn't see, if you are not sure about the decision, it's better not take the decision, because I was watching just now the three action from the channel, but I think it's strange to try to justify handball to Aurier when it was chest. If you didn't see, you say, okay, I believe that this handball, okay, foul, and no problem. But no, try to justify wasn't handball, when you say no, was handball, no, in the middle of the pitch. That is so strange from the referee. You cannot justify the decision. The decision are the decision. Agree or not agree, always full respect to the referee.
Thank you, Maurizio.
You're welcome.
It's important, you know, that Maurizio, in his own head, doesn't just blame the referee for today's result, isn't it? He has to look at the reasons for Spurs' failure to break down this Swansea team.
Yeah, most definitely. He'll look at the bigger picture. But, you know, they're the decisions that should have gone his way, and that changes the game. And we're sitting here saying about, you know, 2 back-to-back wins here at Wembley, and now we're saying they haven't, you know, they've only got another point out of the game. It's a big decision. He kept his head there. Yeah. He kept his head. But he'll be looking at the bigger picture, yeah.
You know how he feels there. I know how he feels.
Yeah.
You forgot about all the missed chances, you forgot all the bad passes. All you can think about is the referee has cost us the game.
OK, and a message that's come in from big SWB on social media. Harry Kane hits the bar with an open goal. Dele headers the ball into no man's land when he has a clear chance. But yes, all Mike Dean's fault, of course. Interesting. Right, and keep your thoughts coming in, actually. After the break, Jermaine and I will be reading out your 3-word match reports. Just explain to us who you support, the 3 words that sum up your team's performance today. Plenty more to come. We'll also have a look at the goals from Friday Night Football. See you in a second.